We'll do a bunch of stuff. I love that tune.
Good evening and welcome to Field Talk. I am the Field, also known as Field of Bears, here to remind you that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. Also, this is my handsome mug. You can buy it. The link is in the chat right now and in the description. And if you don't buy it, that means you're a loser. And you feel bad and you need a mug that is no longer available to feel better about yourself. But mine is, of course, superior in every way. Tonight, let's have a little bit of a chat on, on presumption and procedures. Now, the reason why, yes, the handsome mug, it is available on Redbubble. I get a couple of bucks from it. They're actually on sale, site-wide sale right now, so you can buy my mug and another mug that isn't ugly, and you will have a fantastic time with both my mug and another good-looking mug. In fact, you could buy my other mug, which is a little bit more difficult to find, but I don't have a sample to show you because I don't have just a bunch of money to be throwing at mugs at the moment. It's got Kiwi Bears art on it, so you can buy that one as well. So, when you have a value, such as protecting women, you also have to have a procedure on how that is done. Now, one way the procedure could operate is a woman says she's in danger, and everyone who holds the value of protecting her just jumps into action and confronts whatever she claims to be the danger. But another procedure could be that a woman says she's in danger, and then people who think that protecting her is of value assess the situation and see if there's a danger and what it is, and then they jump into action. Now, As far as protecting women goes, that's a pretty okay value, but it's a bit harder to pin down. Something that's a little bit easier to pin down, a little bit more universalizable, is the concept of justice. And justice means that you punish people who violate the rights of other people, and you don't punish people who've done nothing wrong. So if you've got this value of justice, then it's very important that people who violate the rights of other people get punished. Now, one way you could mete out justice is if someone gets accused of violating the rights of another person, then you swiftly and mercilessly mete out the punishment to them. Well, I'd say that's just a little bit flawed because, well, that person might not have deserved the punishment. In fact, he might have been falsely, or he or she might have been falsely accused of a crime. I've been enjoying some chai tea lately. It's very spicy. Very lovely. Now, another way that you could handle this is if somebody has been accused of violating the rights of another person, then you could have some sort of trial, and in the trial you have the accused person attempt to prove that he or she did not in fact violate the rights of another person. Now this is flawed because, as we've learned from the Spanish Inquisition and the Salem witch trials, and from the Reign of Terror in the French Revolution, and from the failures of the Napoleonic Code, as we've learned from all that, it is impossible to prove a negative. It is impossible to prove that you did not do a thing. It is only possible to prove that someone has done a thing. And so the third option is to have a trial in which the accuser is meant to prove that the alleged crime A was committed and B was committed by the person who they have identified. Now, if condition A is not met, meaning they cannot prove that the crime ever was committed, then it's, I think, fairly easy to say that the accuser was lying. But they get a little bit more leeway in condition B because they may have made a mistake, which is, again, another very important reason we aren't going with the first option of swiftly and mercilessly meting out punishments as soon as somebody's accused of wrongdoing, or option B, or the second option, where we are requiring the person accused to prove their innocence. Now that I've described the procedures, let me explain to everybody why the argument that the Brett Kavanaugh case not being a criminal trial is ridiculous. They say that the burden of proof is not on Christine Blasey Ford because this is not a criminal trial. But that is monumentally foolish. That is ignorant in the extreme, because even outside of a formal trial, whenever somebody is making a positive claim of any sort, it is on the burden of proof is on the one making a positive claim. And since Christine Blasey Ford is making the claim that Brett Kavanaugh did in fact do a thing, at an unspecified time, at an unspecified place. It is on her to prove, either through reason or evidence, but preferably both, that he did, in fact, do the thing. It is not on Brett Kavanaugh to prove that he did, in fact, not do the thing, because it is impossible to prove that a thing did not occur. All it is possible to prove is that a thing did occur or was done or whatever. Moreover, just because the consequences that are being met out are not being done by a court of law, just because Brett Kavanaugh is not being sent to jail, just because legal consequences are not forthcoming at this time, doesn't mean that you are not meting out punishments. What is being done to Brett Kavanaugh is the destruction of his reputation, the harassment of his family, and the end of his political career. Because if anybody thinks that after convincing the entire culture that this man is in fact a serial gang rapist, if anyone thinks that the left are going to stop after stopping him from attaining his seat on the Supreme Court and not demand that he be disbarred, I think that's what you call it when a judge is fired, and not demand that he be disbarred for being a rapist without any evidence and on claims that are, on the face of it, completely ridiculous. If anyone thinks that won't happen, they're either stupid or lying to themselves. And Andrew J. actually does bring up a good point. They didn't stop going after Matt Damon after he apologized. They want more. They want their pound of flesh plus a little more. Sergeant Peterson, and here's the thing. I don't think they'd like it if everyone started playing by these rules. I don't think they would like it very much. They didn't like it very much when Mike Cernovich decided to apply the rule that if you joke about something, that means you are the thing to James Gunn. They didn't like that very much. Well, Goose Bear, I'm not surprised that Google has taken an opinion on the Keith Ellerson case. But Google also told me to believe all women. And Tommy, on Saturday, convinced me that all women are to believe at all times about all crimes. And so since that fulfills woman at a time and about a crime, that means we must believe her about Keith Ellerson. And that means that Keith Ellerson needs to be lynched, obviously. If anyone doesn't understand that as sarcasm, then I have no hope for that individual or group of individuals. But there is well, I don't know about hope. Well, the thing is once I think that what needs to be done is the right just cannot bend. We don't necessarily have to use their rules yet. We don't have to be playing the game called whoever's the most violent wins. We could just not give in. We could just vote for people who have spines and don't have a very appropriate surname and come from an even more appropriately named town, such as the Rhino Jeff Flake. We could instead vote for individuals who have a spine on the right. Unfortunately, the left do have people who have spines. Ironically, the left has more of a political spine than the right. We clear it. Goose Bear, I don't know about white Sharia, but maybe if we did take the left's rules about consent and women and respecting women to their extreme, it would end up looking a whole lot like Sharia, and they might not like it so much then. So it might actually be really interesting to see what happens. That's a very interesting idea. It would make for a pretty interesting story. Maybe I'll write a little vignette about that. That would be fun. That might be fun. That might be fun. Yeah. And this actually goes back to the concept of freedom of speech. People either not understanding or being willfully blind to the fact that when people talk about concepts, they're not talking about the legal codification of the concept. When people talk about the need for freedom of speech on social media, they aren't talking about the First Amendment. They're talking about the concept of freedom of speech. They're not talking about, well, it's not the government doing it, so it must be okay. No, they're saying that as a value, if we don't punish each other for having differing views, then we will be better off. Just like, as a value, if we don't punish people because they've been accused of a crime without proof, we will be much better off. Because then we won't be committing injustices against people. We won't be misapplying our sense of justice. We won't allow the righteous fury of the indignant at moral outrage, the indignity of moral outrage to move us into acting wrongly, which can and has and will happen all of the time. I mean, look at what happened to Emmett Till. He looked at a woman, he looked at a white woman in a way which made her feel uncomfortable, so she accused him of rape. And full of righteous indignation, the men close to her went out and lynched that poor man, thinking that he was a monster. And there was a lot of racism in that going on as well, so I'm not trying to sugarcoat that at all. But do you think that they would have just gone out and killed Emmett Till just for being black? No, they killed him because they thought he was a rapist. Obviously wrong. Obviously they were more willing to believe he was a monster because he was black. But that doesn't change the fact that they executed justice without evidence. And that's what made it into an injustice. And now people are talking about Brett Kavanaugh, somebody who's had a stellar reputation for decades with everyone in his life saying that he's done everything by the book, always trying to be as fair as humanly possible and attempting to rectify his errors when he is made aware of them. And after all that, he's getting treated like he needs to be lynched. And just because it's largely white women and engineered to hate their own doesn't mean it isn't still racism. I think that's a pretty good point, Goose Bear. I think that a lot of white women are racist against white people. I think there's a lot of self-hatred in America among white people, and I think it's undeserved. And I think that people need to uncouple their personal identity from maybe the sins of their ancestors, and they would have a much better life. But it seems like it seems like the way that you signal virtue is by loudly saying how bad other people are or were. And if the only path to virtue is to say how bad other people are, but you're not allowed to say how bad anyone is if they have skin tone dark enough, then the people who don't have any actual virtue run into some trouble there, I guess. Maybe if they could sort out their lives, they would have a bit of an easier time finding their way to virtue. You won't get me to say that out loud, Goose Bear, because when I get rich and famous, they will be digging through these old streams, for sure. So that would be a very, very bad move strategically on my part. But it is very funny. I mean, I'm just going to go ahead, though, and say it is okay to be white. It's okay. You're allowed. It's okay to be white. You know what else it's okay to be? Black and Hispanic and Mestizo and Asian and what else is there? Inuit and Native American and Aborigine. It's okay to be all of those things. It's just not okay to be French. All of humanity has value, except for the French. And, well, those aren't... Goose Bear, communists aren't even human. IQ is inversely proportional to the amount of melanin in your skin. It's a fact, it's science. That's funny. The funny thing is Tariq Nasheed actually said that once without realizing that he didn't realize what he said, because he's an ideologue, and ideology makes you an idiot. Even the funny thing about ideology is, like, I think I might be ideological in some instances, yeah. I have chiclets for teeth? Was it my fake front teeth? Yeah, I broke my teeth when I was a kid, and they gave me these horrible ceramic buck teeth. I'm awfully self-conscious about it, and it's the reason why I don't smile. I very rarely smile. So you get to see my horrific fake teeth whenever you make me laugh, and just know that it is my one facial flaw. Everything about my face is perfection. And you've hurt me terribly, and I think I'm going to cry now about my single flaw. Yes, I have one facial flaw. That's it. Everything else about my face is absolutely perfect. I think your constitutional jingoism makes you an ubermensch, huh? That's hilarious. What was I going to say? I'm a bit ideological in some areas, I suppose, but I try to keep an open mind. I think that lots of people try to keep an open mind and fail, so I might not be as good at it as I think I am. But I like to think I'm pretty okay at it. So the thing about ideologues is an ideologue can have an extremely high IQ. Like he could have like Asian Jew genius level IQ, all of that stuff. But if he's a commie, if he somehow got tricked into being a commie at a young age and never figured it out in later life, then he will be an idiot and cause the deaths of millions if he manages to attain power. So yeah, that's my theory about ideology and idiocy. Because if you stick to your ideological guns in the face of new evidence instead of actually changing your mind, then you're going to be ignoring a better way forward. So, if you've got your worldview, that's a bit different from having your ideology. If you just start with your worldview, like the way in which you interpret the world, then you might be able to keep a little bit more of an open mind than if you have like a full-on ideology that attempts to explain everything. Like, there's plenty I don't know. It's part of the reason why I'm a capitalist. I don't know how you should run your life. I don't know how Zimbabwe should be run. I think that Zimbabweans should just run their own lives. Zimbabweans? Zimbabweans. I have no idea what people in Zimbabwe are called. Some Sino-Ashkenazi super operation. That is hilarious. You did a skit in Spanish class while your buddy and I did a Kung Fu movie spoof. And I had chiclets in your... Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious, Goose Bear. Chiclets in your mouth. Well, I guess chiclets are vaguely tooth-shaped. I would shoot the government in the groin. That would be excellent. If I could find the governmental groin and I could de-hammer that beast, I would do it in a heartbeat. But unfortunately, the hammer of the state is pretty well protected against my meager might. But yes, Goose Bear, I would de-hammer that monster in a heartbeat. Well, the state is just people. And it's people who, for some reason, get to go around and break all the rules. And that bothers me awfully. And I don't understand how people don't understand. I don't understand why people can't get the fact that the state are just people. Right? It's just people. They're not better than any of us. In fact, many of them are a lot worse than most of us. And so, having the idea that you could have this group of people who can point a gun at your head and tell you how to run your life, I don't understand how anyone thinks that could lead to good outcomes. Like, it's not a fictitious entity. Yeah, it's a group of people that happen to be called the state and happen to have all the biggest guns and happen to be stealing money from everybody. I don't cuss on stream, guys. I don't cuss on stream because my goal is for this show to be okay to be playing with your kiddos in the room. And that is why I try to speak in innuendo. But, you know, with the news going on, all the kiddos have now heard about running trains and had to have that explained to them. So isn't that amazing? Yes, government is a sociopathy sponge. Oh, speaking of the state, you know, somebody who I've been calling useless Lindsey Graham, man of no spine. John McCain dies, and suddenly his back stiffens. And I can't see those as unconnected. And you know what, Lindsey Graham, he should just change his name to John Grambo because he just let loose. He didn't draw first blood. He didn't draw first blood, but he finished it. Well, he's going to finish it. But yeah, after Brett Kavanaugh gets confirmed, I think that Lindsey Graham should just change his name to John Grambo. Or Golden Graham. I am just knocked right out of this park because I have never liked Lindsey Graham. Yeah, but I wasn't cussing. And that was a failure on my part. It was a failure. That wasn't a good thing. I failed to meet my goal. I failed to meet my goal. And I have thought of the way to handle that in the next time I do an open call-in show, and if someone calls in to troll, I have thought of what I'm going to do that isn't counter troll, and it might turn out to be a much more positive experience. So don't worry, I have thought about what I did wrong and why I handled that poorly, but that was a failure. So don't think you're going to be getting me to backtrack on my desire to not cuss on stream. Look, I may have the closest thing to facial perfection, but I'm still a human being, guys. Oh, it's actually I'm surprised. I'm actually really surprised that I didn't have so much to say about these things this week. Thank you, Goose Bear. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do next time someone calls in to troll me, and I think it'll turn the situation on its head. I only read about what Kanye on SNL did, but I think he was saying I don't think I really understand. Yeah, McNicktown. When I was having my birthday stream, some like 12-year-old called in and was saying really foul things, and he did kind of get to me a little bit, and so I decided to counter troll to get him to go away, and it worked. But unfortunately, it probably didn't help out the kid very much. So, like, I ended up just smacking down a troll, and I feel bad about it a little bit because I don't think it was a positive experience for the kid. I could have handled it better to make it. I could have handled it better to make it, a growth thing for the kid instead. Yeah, but yeah, I was brutal though. I was just brutal. It wasn't. I was more brutal than I needed to be. I hardly understood what Kanye was saying. In fact, but the thing is he's just saying, well, people are giving him. No, he didn't own me. I made him go away, and I don't have and Hangouts apparently doesn't have the ability to kick someone from the group. Yeah, I was a lot meaner than I needed to be though. A lot meaner, and it wasn't good. You shouldn't react with cruelty, and I shouldn't have. But from like a trolling, yeah, from like a trolling perspective, like I definitely won that exchange, but it's not a good victory. It's tainted. But yeah, pure troll versus troll. I won that one, but it wasn't good. Comicsgate. I'm in support of it. If I had some cash, I would throw them. If I had more cash, I would throw them some cash. In fact, Cyberfrog looks pretty cool. and I heard that your boy Zach has decided to sue that. What's that guy? Mark Wade. Your boy Zach is suing Mark Wade, and Mark Wade has hired a lawyer called Mark Zaid, and I guess your boy Zach needs to get a lawyer called your boy Whack. So that is going to be the universe we live in, I guess. But the thing is the Comicsgate have been crushing. They've been making hundreds of thousands of dollars on their Indiegogo campaigns, and they're going to be putting out their first book soon, and it's going to be actually I think it's going to be fantastic. All the art looks really good. People they're saying they're just putting out stories about superheroes or fun things or adventures, and they're not getting super political about their stories. They just want to have adventures and make comics and have fun. Okay, well, McNicktown, there's this YouTuber called Diversity in Comics, and he started out as just like a critic of comics, especially Marvel comics, and he would flip through comic books and roast them when they were bad, or recommend them if they're good, right? But there are a couple of diversity hires over at Marvel who he got in the habit of roasting their work because it was consistently bad, and so eventually he got, and so people started calling him a harasser and calling him names and all that, and then this whole genre of comic book kind of criticism on YouTube popped up, and they started attempting to point people toward good books and away from bad books in an attempt to save the comics industry, and that started being called #Comicsgate, because it was like Gamergate, a consumer revolt against people who keep on crapping on them, against people who consistently look down on and speak down to their customers, and say, if you don't like it, don't buy it, and then get upset when people don't buy it. And also trying to convince the higher ups at Marvel and DC that social justice don't sell. Alright, so that was the birth of Comicsgate. And then one of the criticisms that this YouTuber, Diversity in Comics, also known as your boy Zach, was constantly getting was, well, why don't you just make your own? And so he did. Right? He's actually about to distribute a book. It's about a giant monkey. I forget what it's called. Does anyone know what it's called? What is it called? It's not Iron Sights, it's the other one. It's not important. But he makes his own book, yeah? And he's going to get it published through Antarctic Press. But then Mark Wade calls Antarctic Press and bullies them, saying there will be consequences if you publish it. Yes, jawbreakers. Saying there will be consequences if they publish this book. And so he backs out of his contract with your boy Zach, and now Diversity in Comics, or your boy Zach, is now going to be suing them. So yeah, and then a whole bunch of pros like Ethan Van Sciver of Batman and Green Lantern fame have left mainstream comics to go independent and work on their own projects, as well. And so we're having like some independent people popping up just from the internet, but we're also having uh, pros who were Republican just leaving the big companies, leaving the big two, and going to have their own thing going on here. Hey, Big Drum, you might want to catch the monologue. It was actually pretty good. Catch the monologue on the replay. You might really enjoy that. Yeah, Ethan Van Sciver is in fact the most popular voice in Comicsgate right now. He actually covers the widest variety of culture as far as criticism goes. And on top of that, he's got his own project, which looks really cool. I kind of want to buy Cyberfrog, and I'm thinking about it. I'm really thinking about it, yeah. And yeah, because of capitalism and the free market, these random indie guys and these like former big company guys have just been crushing, raising hundreds of thousands of dollars in their Indiegogo campaigns. And so they're already, before a single book is printed, they're already making more money than a lot of these so-called comics pros make in a whole year. And so this has generated a lot of resentment and a lot of animosity. And of course, the left-wing pros over at Marvel, DC, and whatever have decided to call the more right-wing Comicsgate, right-wing and centrist, to be honest, Comicsgate, alt-right Nazis. So if you've got some cash and you like comics book, then you might want to go check out Jawbreakers or Cyberfrog, and one will lead to another, and you'll find like this whole group of comics artists who are actually pretty cool. Yeah. Science fiction said that we would have Mars colonies by now, but instead we have 41 genders. But it's this thing about the left, right? This thing about the left. There's an institution, yeah, and it gets started by either just like apolitical people or people who would be considered right wing, right? And they start this institution in the free market, and they make it successful because they work hard, or they have the best idea, or they're really good at marketing, or whatever focus allowing them to succeed. And they focus on that, and they make their institution larger and more successful. And so the institution, if it stays around in the market long enough, you get left wingers, you get commies and social justice warriors coming into this already successful institution, and they want to change that institution to be more in line with their politics, despite the fact that it is the opposite of everything that made that institution successful and credible in the first place. That, yeah, I did hear about that. Rainbow Brew actually does look pretty funny, where all the girls' toy properties are turned into like super hardcore masculine. So that should be hilarious. Yeah, and so I think what they do is they suck all the prosperity and credibility out of this institution, and they leave behind this dry husk that nobody cares about anymore. It's like, I was actually starting to think about getting back in. I had a little bit of cash in my pocket, so I was thinking, hey, should I get back into comics? Should I start reading Marvel comics again? Because, man, I really did enjoy that. I think I'll enjoy it again. So I start looking for comics, and they're all just full of commie propaganda, and it's like, and I go on the twat, I'm like, hey, I haven't been in comics for a while. Is there anything that just doesn't have politics in it? And I get called a Nazi, and it's like, wow. Get called a Nazi by the so-called professional. Just because it's like, I just don't want to hear about your commie politics. So, and it's like, now I don't even care about Marvel Comics anymore. It can fail, for all I care. And if we're lucky, it'll drag down Disney with it. If we're lucky. I mean, God, Disney. Disney's a monster that just needs to die. It hasn't had anything good come out of it in 20 years. In my opinion, anyway. Yeah, rip Marvel. I'm sad that it died, but I don't care about anything they produce anymore. And after the trailer of Captain Marvel, you know what? It's like, maybe it's time just to sign off of the films as well. Rip Marvel Studios, I guess. And if you have coffee in the morning like a man and you don't have soy in it, then go ahead and buy the handsome mug. Buy 2, buy 12. It will orient your soul toward beauty, and you will have a much better day if you started off on the right foot by gazing lovingly at the handsome mug, which returns your gaze and approves of your own efforts toward beauty and handsomeness. Yeah, most of the Pixar, it's like countdown until they ruin Pixar, though, right? So, I'm just so, and when you actually look into Disney as a company, it's really shady. They get a whole bunch of subsidies. They get massive special tax breaks. They do a lot of offshore stuff. So they're not even operating in the free market. It will be an extremely fragile and it will be an extremely fragile and handsome hat, but I guess it can be done. So yeah, we did get just a little bit off topic here at the end. We've got just about 10 minutes left. Does anyone have anything else to say about the concepts of uh about the concept of burden of proof, or the concept of innocence until proven guilty? See, Big Drum Bear, the biggest obstacle to me creating a comic book is that I draw like a drunken bear with no paws, and instead of paws, brushes taped to the stumps. Oso Grande would be a fantastic comic. If we can get someone to draw that as a comic as well as just like an illustrated children's book, that would be amazing. I'm going to sit down and actually write out the stuff that we worked on and not be a lazy asshole, so that this Friday we actually have a show. But yeah, that would actually be a very good comic. The biggest problem is I can paint a picture with words with fairly decent, fairly decent results, but I can't do visual art to save my life. I had a Twitter presence. You must be new. You must be new, Jude. Because I have been permanently banned from the Twitter for being mean to communists and pedophiles. Maybe you'll have time by the time we finish. Our next creative project, guys, the next time we do a creative project, I would like to be able to do it within the span of a month, though. 4 episodes. I think that'll be the plan. Surround the territory, drop leaflets, allow women and children to flee, kill anything and everything that remains. Process the left is due. I mean, I'm not sure. Artling is amazing. He's just so gosh darn busy, and he's just crushing right now. Oh, uh, yeah. It's been a while since I've been on the Discord. Is it still like alive? Oh, Dax. If you become the Preston Garvey of the Bears, I swear I will murder you. I will murder you in the face. Yeah, I will. Well, that's sad. It was fun while it lasted, I guess. I was without a computer for a while, so that's why I died on the Discord. I said, if you become the Preston Garvey of the Bears, I will murder you in the face. Because Preston Garvey is the worst thing in Fallout. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think Artling has the time. I would need. We're going to have fun finding an illustrator once we finish the story. We're actually very close, but our next project will be 4 episodes. It'll be something less ambitious, maybe a poem or something. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Dax. I'm not surprised that you're watching Fallout, playing Fallout. Is there a difference? I don't know. It is something that tells you you have choice, but in fact railroads you onto a main quest with emotional blackmail, but whatever. It took you 1.5 what to illustrate your first one? Oh yeah, we've been writing a story for a while, Big Drum Bear. Um, yeah, if you just go on my channel and look for a writing session, you'll be able to find a link to the Google Doc and read it. Years, 1.5 years to illustrate your book. Oh boy. Maybe I just do need to learn how to draw competently. It might take a couple years to do that. Never mind. Yeah, it is about SJW rabbits. I don't. Yeah, I don't expect the children's book to be 40 pages. And I think we might need to edit a lot out of it. Actually, I'm thinking we might end up editing a bunch out. So again, that actually sounds like a really good idea, Big Jump Bear. We'll try and figure that out. Oh, you mean, yeah, I tried recording audio, but I've learned I really can't stand the sound of my own voice when I'm listening to stuff, which has been kind of a detriment to me because I also need I also need to learn how to edit videos and do stuff like that. And I need to cut together a channel trailer at some point. So I need to get over my own dislike of my own voice. One of my very, very few flaws. I'm as close to perfect as a human can be, but yeah, I still am human. But as an audiobook, that would be really fun. The only thing is attempting to do the bunny voices was slightly embarrassing as well. Like I know I sound. The thing is I know my voice is actually good. You know, I know I actually sound okay, and I know my voice is actually pleasant. I just don't like listening to myself because I've already heard myself say all the things that I've said, and I don't want to listen to myself say them again. But again, it's like it just feels really weird when I'm listening to myself. I'm not really sure about it. Stormy is a good voice stylist. Yeah, when we finish the writing, I think we should get together. I'll have a big hangout on for specifically for the creative thing, and maybe you guys can point me toward finding a good artist. I can't go on the Twitter anymore because I've been banned for being mean to communists and pedophiles. So if you enjoyed the stream, please go ahead and hit that like button. If you want to see more, you can subscribe, but that might not work, so hit the bell. If that doesn't work, golly, I gotta figure something out to help you guys. If you want to sow the field, there's paypal.me/field talk down in the description. But if you want to buy my very handsome mug, the link to that is also in the description and in the chat right now. Oh, and never forget that socialism always ends in starvation and genocide. Have a great night.